All right, we are joined in studio right now by Pablo Rodriguez, former, of course, Liberal minister, now running for leadership of the Quebec Liberal Party. Thank you for coming in, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
I said we were talking off air. I said you have the best hair in politics, but we're not going to talk about that. Look, I want to update listeners really quickly. We have a major power failure on the West Island. Dean, what's the latest on this?
So we're up to 58,000 clients without power. I just got off the phone with Hydro. It's an equipment failure at the Sources Boulevard Hydro Station. So there's a team en route there right now to figure out the problem. In the meantime, they're trying to reroute power from other stations, so some people are getting it back. Dorval South just got it back, but they're saying should be quick.
Okay, nice job on that. All right, let's get into it. First of all, as I said, I thank you for being here. We have tried for a long time to get you to come on. It's been, it's up until now been very, very tough, so I appreciate you coming in today. First of all, the first obvious question I think most people have, why do you want the job of leading the provincial Liberal Party at a time when it is doing worse now than ever before in terms of support, especially something brand that we've seen over the past couple of years with Anglophones who typically always voted Liberal? Why do you want that job?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I did not do any media recently. I just, crossed the river, came in from Ottawa. So, it took some time for me to, building the team and preparing for this very important race. I was, before leaving Ottawa, I was Minister of Transport and also Quebec Lieutenant. And I had to deal with the Legault government on a regular basis. And of course, I was following everything that was going on here. And I was telling myself, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So I said to myself, stop saying that it doesn't make any sense. Just cross the river and go beat them. Right? Because
hold on. What doesn't make any sense?
A lot of things. First, in terms of services, right? I mean, you have this huge deficit, but are things going better in health and education? I mean, point somewhere where it's going better. Nowhere. The other thing is it doesn't make any sense. Is how he's blaming everyone and pointing fingers at everyone. Anglophones are blamed for this. Immigrants are blamed for that. And I think it hurts the social tissue of our society, and I don't think it's acceptable.
I want you to hear this. So you just talked about now about, everything going wrong. Yes, we're running the biggest deficit in provincial history at $11 billion. But at his year-end close, now they've gotten up. They're off, of course, for the Christmas holidays. He was asked a question about the Quebec economy and how things are getting better. I want you to hear what Francois Legault had to say. Brian?
Sure.
I'm so happy that the economy went better in Quebec than in the rest of Canada, went better than Ontario. I'm so proud of that.
What do you think of that?
Well, that's interesting. Well, if that's the case, why the deficit? Why so much problems in health and education and everywhere, pretty much across the province? I think we have structural problems. I think he tried, it didn't work, and now it's time to move on.
So you ran you've been a minister federally for quite some time. You mentioned you were Quebec lieutenant as well. A lot of people at the beginning thought, well, Pablo Rodriguez, he's on a sinking ship. Federally, the Liberals are doing very, very poorly, not likely to win the next election. Good time to get off the ship and come here. The question is, why would you jump off one ship that was going down to another that's gone down?
First of all, I'm not abandoning anything. I was there in tougher times. I rebuilt the party with the actual prime minister. I lost my own seat in 2011. I came back. I was the main organizer for the Liberal Party in Quebec, and we went from 6 seats to 40 seats, right? That period was way tougher than this one here now. And going from there, I mean, I have a very good seat, to be honest. I have the privilege of having people trusting me and voting for me. I had a pretty good job as minister. And I'm leaving that for a party that finished fourth, that is actually around 7% among Francophones. So that's not being opportunistic. I think that's conviction.
That's a challenge, I think.
It is a huge challenge, absolutely.
I mentioned the Anglos and the fact that so many of them are looking at the Liberals and going, can't vote for that party, I don't know who they are anymore. What do you do on the Francophone side in the regions where you're at 7%?
Well, there's two things. First, there's one thing you do for everyone. Francophones, Anglophone people that, just arrived. You have to, offer a good government, a responsible government that does what they say they're going to do, right? The second thing from Francophones, one of the things is the French language, for example, and they cut francisation, right? The government says, it's very important that immigrants like me, for example, that didn't speak French or English, learn French. Yeah, but they cut some of the budget. What I would do is I would put that back in there, but also invest more in culture, where you have more music in French, more films, television, this and that. So that would interest more the younger generation, the new immigrants, to learn French. And by the way, culture for me in Quebec is as much, Desjardins than Leonard Cohen. It's both. both languages.
You know, with respect to culture, we've heard a lot in the past couple of days. I was talking to our listeners today about this. You heard probably the Premier saying on Friday, it's out of hand. He needs to ban public prayer in spaces in Quebec. He's pointing a finger at Islamists. Where are you on that? I mean, do you think that's a problem?
I think I think it's a diversion. I think that things are going bad for him again. He wants to change the channel. Things are not going well in terms of the economy. There's challenges. If you see what happened at the school Saint Maxime in Laval or Bedford in Montreal, I mean, you don't need a new law there. What's happening there? It's not respecting the law. So before saying we knew some new laws, why don't you make sure that the ones that are there are respected?
I want you to hear one other clip I have. I know today this is a good day for you. You had two MNAs come over and support you. One was Linda Caron, former president of the party, and also Michel Sedlacque, who we've spoken to before. That's good. You're in the process of building a team. Fair to say.
Absolutely.
I asked David Hertel, who I'm sure you know, if he thought you were a shoe-in, and the answer is no, it's still too early. Charles Milliard has support as well. But then Tom Mulcair was on this morning with our own Andrew Carter and was asked about Pablo Rodriguez, and does he now, given these two people who've now come onto his team, what do you think? And here's what he said.
The people with the deepest experience in the Quebec Liberal Party are very wary of Rodriguez. They see an attempt, because their thing is falling apart in Ottawa, an attempt by the federal Liberals to take over the Quebec Liberal Party, and they want nothing to do with it. A lot of people at the senior level of the Quebec Liberals do not like the fact that Rodriguez is doing so well.
What's your answer to that particular statement?
It's okay if I disagree with Tom?
Sure.
Because I do disagree with Tom. First of all, I started with the provincial Liberals. I was with the Young Liberals, and I was at the time the president of the Young Liberals was Mario Dumont, and I was on the national executive, on the Quebec executive, and I volunteered a lot during the Jean Charest years, where I helped in many by-elections, and then I moved on to the federal. But I also was a spokesperson during the 95 referendum. You do remember what we went through at that period. And I was one of the people, one of the young spokesperson. I was sent to Repentigny, Rimouski, Jonquière, Sherbrooke. It was a very, very, very tough, period. It was hell, actually. It was so divisive. And that's another one of the reasons why I want to come to Quebec City, to Quebec, make sure that the PQ doesn't win. Because at this moment, the PQ is extremely strong. They have a lot of chances of winning, and that means a referendum in the first mandate. And I hear sometimes people say, oh, that's okay if we vote. PQ will go and vote no on a referendum. I say, no. Just the fact that you have to vote on that, it's so divisive, it's so bad for the society, for the social tissue. We don't want to go there. Not only do I want to beat the CAQ, but also the Parti Québécois.
But do you, to Tom's point, do you have a challenge in convincing some of the old Liberals within the party that you're the right guy? That it's not simply a matter of you coming from federal to provincial to basically, bring those views into Quebec provincial politics?
Take one of the two MNAs that's supporting me that was announced yesterday. Linda Caron's been there since 1984. She's a former president of the Policy Commission. She's a former president of the party. She thought about running herself. She's been there. Like she symbolizes the Quebec Liberal Party, and she's supporting me. I have the support of dozens of riding presidents that will be able to announce eventually. I did announce some yet. Former ministers, former MPs, MNAs, in actual MNAs and others I would be able to announce. So I understand very well that it's two different parties. It's been like this, and it has to stay like this.
Last question. We're going to run out of time, and I know you have to go. What do you say to English voters listening to CJD right now, who, as I said off the top, feel they've been abandoned by the provincial Liberal Party? How do you change that? What do you do that's going to be different?
I totally understand why they feel abandoned by, I would say, in a certain way, by both Liberal parties, federally and provincially. And I had many discussions with the community. I have so many friends in the community. Some of my best friends, actually. And I think we have to have that conversation and work together. You know what? What we're going to do and offer will definitely not be perfect. And I'm not, never will say that be perfect. But let's make sure that we work together so that we stop Legault from this division, because we don't need it. An Anglophone, a Francophone, we're all Quebecers. I wasn't even born here. I was 8 years old when I came here. I didn't speak a word of English, not a word of French or anything like that. I consider myself 100% a Quebecer. A Quebecer. All of us. So that speech has to stop. We have to get rid of François Legault. And the other thing, you don't want the Parti Québécois, because it's not going to get better, and you're going to have a referendum. So let's unite under the Liberal Party of Quebec and win this.
Bill 96, Bill 21.
Yeah. well, 96. I mean, there's a few things that I was comfortable with, other things that I was not comfortable with. The 6 months to learn French, the fact that someone can come in without any mandate in a business and you leave with a computer, that doesn't make any sense. So the things were going to change.
Last question. There's been, it would seem like an attack. I don't know if you read the op-ed in the Gazette on English universities here. It's policy after regulation that this government has done to basically, I think, almost make it as difficult as they can to operate. What do you do when you become?
Well, I said it when I was way before leaving Ottawa. When Quebec announced that and cutting funds to McGill and Concordia, at the time Bishop also, I said it's like closing windows to the world. It doesn't make any sense. You don't do that. Both my parents are university professors. You don't do that.
We will leave it at that. I thank you so much for coming in. I hope
Thank
we have
you,
another chance to
Absolutely.
chat a little later in the
With great
campaign. Thanks again. I do appreciate it. Pablo Rodriguez, running for leadership of the Provincial Liberal Party.